Hello, this is Darth Cephalus, back for part 3, the final part of the series on doing things backwards. If you recall from the first two parts, which you should have watched before watching this one, we've been dealing principally with the idea of the backwards Obiani spin and the backwards plum flower. Backwards because they're done from an upwards wheel instead of a downwards wheel. This was one of the only moves that I saw out there where the reverse didn't already exist. And just for the sake of recap, this was our backwards Obiani, and this was our backwards plum flower. And in one of the videos we discussed the idea of hand switches as well, just for the sake of reference. What I wanted to talk about today was a little bit about moving with this move. Just like the plum flower original and Obiani spin can be used to change the direction that you're walking or moving. For instance, here we're working on my right-hand side from a downward wheel. I can use the Obiani spin to turn around into an upward wheel. And if I take a step, I'm then in an upward wheel. The same thing can be said to be true of the reverse Obiani. I can use it to turn around from an upward wheel into a downward wheel, just turning the opposite direction. Here, I'll show it from this side. I'm upward into a downward. And I can even use this to turn back and forth between the original Obiani and the inverse Obiani. And you'll notice what I'm doing there is I'm moving my right foot. It's easier to take a step with it. I move my right foot into the upward, and then I move my right foot back into the downward, into the upward, into the downward. And you only want to move your foot after the Obiani flourish. If you do it before that, you're going to hit yourself in the back of the legs while you're trying to move. So here is spin, then foot, spin, then move the foot. So the reason to do some of these things is just this move being able to be done backwards enables you to do things like reverse an entire sequence, which is useful if you're doing things like a dubstep routine or any sort of dance or performance routine that requires you to reverse an entire section of your work. So, for instance, if I were doing downward, downward, flourish, flourish, I could then take that and reverse the whole movement. Just something to keep in mind as you're practicing things, that the ability to reverse your moves gives you the ability to back up. It also gives you the ability to get from the upward wheel into a downward wheel through sort of through a little trick. I used to find the downward wheels were more exciting because you could use the Obiani to spin around and get out of them, whereas the upward wheel, you were just kind of stuck in it and had to go back into a downward wheel. If you use the inverse Obiani, you can get from the upward to the downward with the same sort of flourish you can use to get from the downward to the upward. And just as I can use it to spin back and forth, I can use it to go around as well, all the way. So, something to practice, a little bit wonky to get a hold of, or to get used to, but there weren't any videos out there, so I figured I would help. Hopefully this has been of use, and I'll see you on the forums.